Let's go!
Time for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Patrick Johnson Show. It is a show today, isn't it?
It is. I feel like I just woke up from hibernation like an animal. It's weird.
We don't, nobody's practicing. We don't have to cover a practice today, or we don't have a book report from anybody. This is a show today, correct?
It's what they've told me. I hope we're on air.
Because we've got two great guests. I wouldn't even count on that even. We've got two great guests booked for today. One of our favorites is Kirstin Burgess, who's the ECU tennis coach. Love Coach Burgess, so we're going to talk to her coming up. In our next segment, we'll talk some college basketball with one of our great friends. Jerry Palm will be with us. Jerry, back out on his own. PalmBrackets.com is where you can go. He does his own bracketology. He's one of the OGs. I think he's been doing this longer than the other guy with the bad hairpiece on the Worldwide
I think
Leader.
he has been doing it longer, yeah.
Yes, so Jerry's the OG of this thing and friend of the show. I think we could say that at this point.
Yeah,
Friend of the
I
show,
think so.
Jerry Palm. So, look, I, like many of you, am still trying to process a little bit of what went down last night as far as ECU basketball went. A game that I don't want to say that it has shut the door on the Pirate basketball season, but it is now made what was already an uphill climb, perhaps an uphill climb that has been seeded with some slick oil going downhill. I mean, it becomes really challenging after a gut-wrenching emotional loss yesterday. Here's what I know. Jordan Riley, amazing. 40 points, 10 rebounds, and got the absolute heck beaten out of him last night. Wichita State very wisely took it to Jordan physically. I mean, Boyd was running over him on fouls. And not even worried about helping him up. And Boyd can do that because Boyd, like Riley, looks like he's been carved out of granite. But Jordan was magnificent. Corey Calker has been a disappointment this year from how it was believed he was going to come in and perform. He was starting to figure things out, and things were getting a little better for him. He injured himself. I don't know, and we didn't have any shots of it on the replay exactly but I thought Mbang played as well as you could play for someone who's never really had to play those kind of minutes in that kind of game for that amount of time. I thought he played pretty well. He cramped up at the end. I think that affected him on the three that he took late. But he made some bad decisions late. And you could chalk that up to some inexperience. The 4-point play, and even Pilk calling it with 50, it didn't feel like that was going to be the final deal. It wasn't going to be a 4-point spread. You just had a sense Wichita State was going to do something to at least cut that score. Little did we know they would tie it up on a 4-point play. Kenyon Giles, wow, that was. I've got a word for you in that. Reggie Miller-esque. That's what it reminded me of. The 4-point play late, the three from the logo, the midcourt logo. He even took, before the 4-point play, wanted a three, didn't get it, took it down up on Imajuru and laid it in on him. And then the steal and the double clutch, it looked like a mini Reggie Miller. I mean, that's what it looked like to me.
It did. The only thing I will take away from was that 4-point play. Anybody make a 4-point play when you're not getting touched on the first three.
Sure.
You're just giving the fourth one.
Right. And let's talk about that. Let's first hear Mike Schwartz discuss that in the postgame last night.
At the end of regulation, the 4-point play, we had come out of that timeout. Everybody was clear. We were fouling on the catch. We had a foul to give. We didn't execute that. And, I mean, the whole bench out of the timeout, everyone, for whatever reason, that didn't happen.
I think they did. They grabbed his jersey as he was coming around the screen, and they hit him on the arm while he was in the process of catching the ball. And damn moron swallows his whistle, and then nobody touches him. He's like, "Oh, foul on the 4." I mean, what a moron! I mean, I hope that Mike Eads pulls this guy into his office and says, "You're a freaking moron." That's what I hope happens, and doesn't give him any games the rest of the year.
A couple of those officials were guys that officiate big-time games. One of them in particular is going to be on a top 20 game this weekend in the SEC.
I hope it's the guy with the really short hair, because he was decent. The other two guys were terrible. Yeah. Okay, it was that guy.
Yeah, and I know that guy. He's a pretty good official, good guy. I think he was maybe a little overzealous, and we don't have enough time to litigate every single. But I mean that was. Let me just say this about the officiating. I mean, Gio Majuru was almost in the first row with the band and had the ball, and they didn't call him. They didn't call anything. That blew my mind. I've never seen that before. That egregious of a miss. Then he travels to get back in bounds, which they don't call, and then he gets fouled. I mean, it was kind of comical in a way. I think this. I think Mbang was trying to foul before the shot and the continuation, but it still was a heck of a shot that he made. And I hear what you're saying.
The shot was a heck of a shot. He didn't deserve a free throw with it.
No, but that was an incredible play by Giles. And, I mean, that was heroic stuff. And if Wichita State, who now sits in second in this conference, and right now, if the tournament were starting today, would be in the double bye to the semifinals. If Wichita State gets that double bye, they're going to be a tough out. I would not want any parts of them with the way that Giles can make shots, with the way they do have some size and some athleticism that can defend. I don't know if I'd want any part of them there. Then there was the play. Okay, you go to overtime, and I thought ECU answered the bell beautifully in the first overtime. I really do.
Yeah.
But to not be able to get, with a timeout, to not be able to get the basketball in, and Pilk, just throw it down the floor.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get it with enough time to. I mean, if they do, so be it. But you at least you've got them in a reactionary mode instead of an attack mode.
Yeah, as long as you don't throw it with enough power that it goes out of bounds the other end. Because if it doesn't, it never gets touched. But just lob it up
in the air.
Yeah,
let it come down somewhere, even if it's 3/4 court, because they still have to gather it,
and they don't have any timeouts.
Right, and they have to deal with contesting, and then they've got to get a shot. Now, could Giles have gotten? Maybe. But again, I chalk that up to him. But, you could chalk all of this, again, up to the roster construction. It was believed it was going to be something, and it ended up not being what they thought it was going to be. And look, you can discount this. Injuries are injuries. And this is a thin rotation right now. There's virtually nobody on the perimeter to sub in. Patty Darcy, who's been a missing person for much of 2026. That's it. So, I mean, there's some positives to take for this. It'll be interesting to see how the Pirates sort of regroup. But that was draining last night for ECU, and it could be in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this again. We don't have a ton of time, but I'll say this. That didn't determine what may or may end up happening at the end of the year with wherever this program's going. This game had no bearing. I mean, that you can't do that. And I don't think that. But I mean, for people to go automatically fire this, do that based on one game, well, they're idiots. But I mean, this is still they played hard, and you can't fault that. All right, Jerry Palm coming up next here on the Patrick Johnson Show. We'll talk some bracketology.
Oh, hey, welcome back.
Oh, look who's back reporting for duty.
You got here just in time.
Holy nuts, man.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
We've been really very fortunate to have cultivated a little bit of a relationship with the great Jerry Palm, one of the OGs of bracketology. And he's now got his own site, palmbrackets.com, P-A-L-M, brackets.com. And the great Jerry Palm joins us to talk a little bracketology here as we are getting down the stretch. Jerry, great to have you on. Thanks for coming back here on the radio show. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on again.
So, palmbrackets.com, how often are you updating it? And it's basically the same thing that you did for a decade and a half, essentially, in bracketology at the national level, I guess, with CBS, right?
It's actually what I started doing back in #94 when I had my
Okay.
own site, and then I started working for CBS. I was there for 14 years, so in a sense, I'm back to my roots. Yeah, it's updated every day with at least the new scores. This part of the year, we've got Bubble Watch going, and that gets updated almost every day when somebody plays, and that's almost every day. Although nobody plays tonight. And then of course brackets are twice a week, Mondays and Fridays at the moment. And as we get closer, it'll become daily. Oh, the last say couple of weeks, it'll be daily brackets once we get into the conference tournaments.
Got you. Palmbrackets.com is where you could go and check that out, and we'll promote that the entire time and all that. All right. I'm noticing Memphis did this last week, and now Memphis is having a terrible season by Memphis standards. And it didn't benefit them. It just caused Penny to have a meltdown. And that was a game against Utah State with the opportunity to maybe, okay, we could get a really nice quad 1 or quad 2 win out of conference late in the season. Duke under Shire is doing it in a big way this weekend. I want to talk to you about that game with Michigan and Washington, D.C. But we do see some conference or teams stepping out of conference this time of year, especially on an open week. And they wind up scheduling a non-con of some kind of variety. Are we finding this to be a little more common, or is it just because I saw it with Memphis and I've got a Memphis game coming up that I'm calling, and then we're obviously paying attention to what Duke does here in North Carolina?
Sure. I think it's a this year thing. I don't think we had February non-conference games last year. At least I don't remember that. So. Will it be a trend? Maybe if they do well. You would certainly expect a Michigan Duke game to do well. Memphis Utah State game maybe not as much. Although that would have been, if Memphis had been what we're used to seeing from Memphis, then that would have been perhaps a game between two teams that are fighting for seed in terms of the NCAA tournament. This year it's just Utah State. But yeah, I think you could see this continue if it does well. It's funny, we got Michigan and Duke, you mentioned, and that Michigan has that game coming off playing at Mackey Arena against Purdue, so that's a heck of a week. And they won that game, of course. And then we also have Arizona and I believe Houston playing each other this weekend too, which is it's like the top 4 teams of the poll. There's 2 games involving the top 4 teams in this week's poll. And so that's a very happy coincidence for this kind of setup. And of course, one of those is a conference game.
Yeah, absolutely. The great Jerry Palm, palmbrackets.com. It's great to have Jerry on. Your 4 number ones are Duke and Michigan. Duke in the East, Michigan in the Midwest. You've got UConn in the South, Arizona in the West. How solid right now are those 4 teams in your mind? And does this Duke-Michigan game change anything at all on the weekend?
Well, UConn lost last night to Creighton at home, so they're almost certainly going to drop off the top line.
Gotcha.
That's a stunning result because the game was at UConn in particular. Creighton's having a down year by their standards, so it's really kind of surprising to see that would be the team to beat them at Stores. But the Michigan Duke game might be for the overall number 1 seed. Arizona playing it a little bit shorthanded. Obviously, Koa Pete's been out. I don't know if he'll be back for this or not. And they've been scuffling a little bit. And Houston they just took a loss as well, I think. So, so we're talking about teams that this could impact seeding at the top of the bracket for sure in a month when they actually come out with a bracket. Because you've got these great non-conference games going on. And these teams all played good non-conference schedules anyway, so this is just another one. And it's one of 35 games. But when you're talking about potential head-to-head going for a seed, these could end up being decisive games, especially Michigan and Duke.
Yeah. with the number twos in your most latest projections, and they're available at palmbrackets.com, the great Jerry Palm with us here. In the Midwest with Michigan, you've got Iowa State as the number 2 projected seed right now. Purdue in the East, which to me seems really strong for Duke. And then you've got Nebraska out west, and then Houston, and of course that was UConn. And so who knows if they'll swap, or maybe if somebody like in Illinois or one of the other number 2s may come up and take the number 3 seed. Or the fourth number 1 seed, the UConn seed, previously based on the result last night. I guess what I'm asking is, out of those 4, and maybe, I don't know, on the 3 line, who is a likely person or team to maybe, fill that fourth number 1 out ultimately?
Well, I think probably if either Iowa State or Houston were to win that conference, or lose to Arizona in a conference championship game, one of them makes the game and the other one doesn't, then I think that one could be the most likely to move up. The Big Ten, other than Michigan, seems to be kind of eating itself behind it, where they've got some very good teams, but both Purdue and Nebraska lost this week. Now, Purdue lost to Michigan. Nebraska lost at Iowa. Illinois has been great this year. And there's been, games among the, say 4 or 5 teams behind Michigan that are just kind of going either way. I know Purdue's got Michigan State coming into Mackey next week, and there's still other games left to play. I think Michigan State and Michigan play each other one more time as well. So there's a lot to be decided still in the Big Ten and the Big 12, where you've got a lot of quality at the top of both of those leagues. My bracket has had 5 of each in the top 16 since I started doing, twice a week brackets. So it's been over a month since that's generally been the case. And so as they continue to beat each other up, Michigan seems to be emerging in the Big Ten. I don't know that we've got a team that's emergent in the Big 12 yet, but you're going to see a high number of teams from those 2 leagues in the top 16, and the order is still to be determined.
Yeah. Here on Tobacco Road, you've got Duke. We've talked about them, but you've got North Carolina as a 5 seed. Now, they're injured. NC State blew them out of the water a couple of days ago in Raleigh. How much does the injury, particularly involving Wilson, maybe change things for North Carolina? And then, depending on how they finish, and I know it's all contingent on that, but I mean, is there a certain place they would only drop so far? Or, if things just don't go well down the stretch, how far could you see North Carolina potentially dropping?
So the way injuries are treated by the selection committee is that they are going to put a little more weight, little being the operative word there, on how they played with the roster they're taking to the tournament versus whatever happened otherwise. And but when I say little, I mean maybe you won't even notice, depending on the difference really between the performances with both rosters, if you will. Now, for North Carolina, I'm pretty sure Wilson's expected back at some point. But, until he comes back, we don't know. As opposed to, say, Texas Tech, where JT Toppin, their star player, an All-American, is out for the year with a torn ACL, and one of the starters for BYU just had a diagnosed with a torn ACL as well. So, for Texas Tech, they've been having a great year. Now let's see how they do without JT Toppin. And if there's a noticeable drop in performance, then they might have we'll say a 4-seed resume, and they end up being a 5 or maybe a 6 because of how they look without JT Toppin. So that's just an example, and it's, of course, a hypothetical one. The most prominent thing in this situation was way back when Kenyon Martin was a senior at Cincinnati. Player of the year, national player of the year. He gets a torn ACL in the first half of the first game of their conference tournament with UAB, and then they go out and lose that game. So the committee then saw, 30 minutes of Cincinnati without Kenyon Martin. They would, instead of being the overall number 1, they were a 2, and then they lost their second game. So, but that's kind of an example of that. They didn't judge them on 30 minutes, but you couldn't ignore it either.
NC State right now is in that 8-9 line in the brackets I was just looking at of yours a moment ago. they are playing the more challenging part of their schedule on paper now in the ACC, and it seems like they're firmly in. How much room does NC State have, as far as an upside or even a downside, depending on how things go? I mean, I know it's all contingent and inexact, but I mean,
Right.
How much volatility do the Wolfpack potentially have, do you think?
Well, so they've got games at Notre Dame and home with Stanford. If you lose those games, you're talking about seed-wise. Those are Stanford is okay. Notre Dame is still rebuilding. So, those are games that NCAA tournament teams win. It doesn't mean they can't make the tournament if they don't, but, those are the kinds of things that affect your seed. Obviously, the opposite of this is also true because they're playing at Virginia and home with Duke. And those are the kinds of things that can push you up the bracket. Each of those games have the ability to push you up the bracket because of the quality of those teams. So there might be a lot at stake, seemingly, in each of those 4 games. If they lose the 2 better ones and they win the 2 that they should win, then you're probably looking at this part of the bracket for NC State, depending, of course, on what the teams around them do.
Jerry Palm with us, bracketologist. PalmBrackets.com is where you can go. He also does football projections, so we love that with Jerry as well when he does the bowls, and has been a longtime bracketologist, and it's great to have him back on our program here this afternoon. Jerry, let me ask you about Miami of Ohio. They're very interesting. They're now 26-0. Their coach is saying, hey, just enjoy the ride at this point. How much wiggle room do they have? I mean, are they at-large worthy if they don't win their conference tournament?
There's only one game left on the schedule that matters for Miami, and that is the MAC championship game. They're not getting in the tournament without winning that. And I guess they have to win whatever games they have to play in the tournament before that to get to it. But
Sure.
What the regular season doesn't matter for them at this point. They have to win the conference tournament to get in. And the reason for that is they have a strength of schedule around 350 out of 365 in Division I. It's one of the 15 worst schedules in Division I. And no one's ever got an at-large bid with a strength of schedule below 230. So I don't care if they're a one-loss team or not. They don't need an at-large bid if they're undefeated. They're not getting an at-large bid this season, not with this schedule.
Gotcha. Well, I think they would, if they win the MAC, they would. There's a little America's sweetheart about them if they get in.
And we know literally nothing about this team in terms of how they do against better opposition because they played none of it. Their best opponent so far, and the best win, of course, is Akron.
Yeah. We, of course, are involved in the American through East Carolina. I did East Carolina and Wichita State last night on TV, which was probably the game of the night in college basketball, a double overtime game with some great plays, shot making down the stretch. The Americans down.
Double overtime game, by the way, that might have gotten a little more attention. I'm just saying.
I'm liking mine better, though, Jerry. Just roll with it here. Come on, Jerry.
Okay.
Roll with mine here. Come on.
All right, I'm on it.
Patrick, you couldn't even say it with a straight face. You couldn't even say it with a straight face. You got Arkansas and Alabama, and you're trying to compare ECU.
I know. But I didn't call that game. You see? Yeah. If I'd called it, I'd say it was the greatest game ever played. More so than Duke, Kentucky in the 90s. I mean, that's what All right, grant me this. It was the second best game last night. All right, so here's what that was a really competitive, fun game. Paul Mills, what a story. What a guy. Wichita State, is a solid team. They've got some nice parts. They're unique to watch. USF, I think, is really good. Already 10 wins in conference. And I'm not so sure how deep it goes. Tulsa's got, they're that's another interesting story this year. I say all this to say this is a one-bid league. What is your feel right now out of the American?
Yeah, it's, the American is one of a few of these major conferences. I'll throw the A-10 on this list off the top of my head, where you can pretty well count on an at-large team to go along with the conference champion. And now I don't know if that's ever coming back. I say that for both of those leagues. And, there's some proud programs in both of those leagues. And, maybe there will be years like that, but my concern for the A10 and for the American and the Mountain West, we're still going to get some at-large teams and leagues like that, West Coast, especially losing Gonzaga, is that all the money in college athletics is flowing uphill to the major conferences. And while we have 5 of those in basketball, we only have 4 in football, and those are really the 4 I'm talking about. The Big East isn't getting football money. UConn's the only FBS school in that league, and there's a few FCSs, and that's it. So, as long as all the money is ending up in those 4 conferences, it's going to be hard for the other conferences out of 365 teams, that many teams, to put together, 2 NCAA tournament teams in a league. It's just going to be hard. So I feel like that hurts the sport. And maybe my prediction will be wrong, and I hope so. But it's not trending that way. I've got 2 at-large bids from the Mountain West in this bracket, and I've got 2 from the West Coast, and that varies from day to day. And all 4 of the teams that are not in first place in this bracket are very tenuously in the bracket. So, if there's a scenario where we have maybe 1 non-major at-large team, and that's outside the Big East as well. So, I would hate to see that kind of a thing be the way college basketball is going forward, but I'm not optimistic that it may not turn out that way sometime.
And it's a shame because both the A10 and the American, I mean, a lot of tradition in both conferences.
Yeah. Proud league.
Especially the A10.
And duly so. It's well earned. It's, the quality of those leagues has been, at the top. I mean, they're not deep in terms of quality, but they're good. There are good programs in both of those leagues that are like traditionally good, like Dayton and VCU and the A10 and, Memphis is just at the top of my mind in the American. And it's just, it's a shame that, Memphis is not doing well this year, but it's still, these are conferences that have proven capable of putting not just teams that are capable of making, a deep run in the tournament, but certainly multiple teams in the NCAA tournament. And I'm not optimistic that that's going to be continuing.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Sticking kind of with just this theme in this state, I looking at the most recent bracket, you would see WN. They had a huge win against Charleston the other week on their court. And obviously they're in a situation they'd have to win the CAA in Washington, D.C. in March. And then High Point, who actually got off to a pretty rough start. You've got them, I guess, favored now to win the Big South. So that's kind of interesting, too. And again, that's just more just kind of house cleaning items because we like to keep an eye on, the teams in the state. So let me ask you this. You kind of just answered it a little bit, but I want to get your perspective because you've followed this for so long, Jerry, and that is expansion of the NCAA tournament. I mean, is it going to be? Would it be too much of a good thing? Is there a number that would make a little sense? We hear 90-some teams. I actually like the idea of just doubling the field because you really only add one more game.
Right. I'm in favor of expansion in college football to 16 because you do away with the byes, and the byes have not been a benefit to the teams that get them. The only number that works for me in basketball is 64, and they'll never go back to it. They're not going to 128 either. They add it'll be a very small increment, but the reality is for the diehard basketball fans, they'll watch whatever basketball's out there, right? So whatever size they make the tournament, we're all going to watch. But for the casual fans, which is certainly a majority of the people that follow the NCAA tournament, because they all have brackets they're filling out, at least until their bracket dies, they're going to follow it. But nobody's following it before it gets to 64, because nobody's filling out brackets bigger than 64, nor are they going to, because it fits nicely on a sheet of paper. So, or the width of your computer screen. Nothing fits nicely on a phone. But so I just, if you want to add 4 more, whatever. It doesn't matter to me if they add 4, they add 8. You're diluting the tournament. the more you add, the more you dilute it. There are teams that I consider, last four out, last four in, first four out. Those 8 teams, I'd be fine without any of them for the most part, except for now. That's about the only way some of these non-majors are getting in. But
Sure,
it's but I don't think if they expand the tournament, they're not expanding it for Memphis. They're not expanding it for Boise State. They're expanding it for the majors. To get more of those major conference teams in, like 14 SEC teams wasn't enough. Let's make the tournament even bigger. Well, but that's what they're expanding for. Don't delude yourself. Now, a non-major or two may benefit from that, but that's not who they're expanding for. They're not expanding to make it more, I guess, evenly distributed. They're just not.
Yeah. Jerry, with that said, how do you see, what's the future of bowl game? What does the bowl schedule look like in 5 years?
Well, we're going to have 3 fewer this year. We already didn't get the Bahamas this year, although, and then I guess the LA Bowl went away. Detroit Bowl went away, which was a Big Ten game. So I'll miss that. But it's, you're starting to get players opting out. The transfer portal is part of that. You've got guys, they're not so much opting out because they're going pro, they're opting out because they want to transfer. And even if the transfer portal's not open, that doesn't mean they're going to risk playing. So when you start to have problems with fielding teams to go to these bowl games, then you're going to see fewer of them. And now the conferences may not be as interested in signing as many bowls if they're going to have teams that are not going to go. So I have a feeling the bowl system is going to kind of trickle down to maybe out, with the possible exception, of course, the exception for sure of anything that's involved with the playoff.
Yeah. Interesting.
But it's not going to be
Jerry Palm.
It'll take a decade for that to happen.
Yeah. Jerry Palm with us, palmbrackets.com. Jerry, can we get you on in a couple of weeks? Can we get you back to talk a little bracketology? Awesome.
I can always make
we
time
will do
for you
it.
guys.
All right. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate it very much. And I'm going to still stand by. I at least had the second best game last night of college basketball. That's what I'm going to say. So, all right. Thank you, Jerry. Yes, it was. All right. Great to have Jerry Palm with us. We're going to talk Pilk's favorite sport, one of them at least, tennis, when we come back. Kirstin Burgess, ECU tennis coach, one of our favorite guests. We'll talk to her on the other side.
Back to the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back. We got a jam-packed show, so let's get started.
Deep breath. Here we go.
All right, been far too long since we've had our next guest on the show. Kirstin Burgess, ECU tennis coach, and just a favorite of having on the program. And they are coming off a win, 4-3, in their opener. They will play tomorrow at home against Norfolk State. By the way, knocked off VCU last time. It's been a minute since we've had the coach on, but it's great to have the coach of ECU tennis, Coach Burgess, back with us. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing great. Just getting ready to head back on the court in a little while to get ready for tomorrow's match.
It never ends, especially this time of year. It never stops. So, all right, give us it's been a couple of years since we've talked to you. I don't know why Pilk didn't schedule you for last year, so I firmly blame him because he made some questionable suggestions to get people on that didn't work out.
I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame. Just tar and feather Pilk,
Right. I'm glad we have you on because we, like I said, it's been too long. Tell me about this year's edition of ECU and take us through the match where you all won against VCU last week.
Sure. We have a couple new girls on the team this year that we're playing 1, 3, and 5 for us. We have freshmen in those positions. So,
oh, wow.
Pretty pivotal positions. Yes, yeah. Pretty important positions. But fortunately, we're kind of anchored by some senior players on the other side at 2 and 6. And with their experience and with the doubles point, we managed to pull out a 4-3 win, which is pretty monumental for our program because it's been a while since we've truly beaten them. And, they were a tournament team last year. They won their conference as well, and their lineup was virtually the same as it was for their tournament team last year. So proud of the one on Saturday, and proud of my new girls and, really just my seniors as well for stepping up when we really needed them.
Yeah. How did it wind up that you did you know, okay, well, these players are of the quality they could play as a 1 and as a 3 and a 5, or was it a situation this was sort of the necessity to
Sure.
put them in that role?
You watch them practice every day, and you kind of see their potential. I mean, practice is obviously a little bit different from match play. You don't truly know how tough they're going to be in tight situations. They practice hard. They try hard. But you don't know if they're going to be nervous. You don't know if that tightness is going to affect their playing style. And in some places, I think it affected them just a little bit. But the way our courts were set up, they were on either side. They had senior players on either side of them, and I think maybe that confidence and that experience pushed them through. But you watch them in practice. You play plenty of challenge matches in practice. You have our players playing sets against each other all the time, and it's not as competitive as a real match, obviously, because beating your teammates isn't quite the same as beating an opponent. But you get an idea of what they can do based on those matches, and then we play a lot of matches in the fall as well. They're not team matches, but they're individual matches, so you do get a chance to see what they can do before you step out on the court in the spring.
Got you. Kirstin Burgess is ECU's tennis coach. They will play Norfolk State tomorrow. It will be a home match. When we last talked about you, it was the process of beginning to, and maybe you weren't even really practicing on campus at that point, but all the operations have now moved, I guess, off campus for tennis in full.
Yes.
Is that accurate? So how has that transition been? Not having a campus area as far as practice goes and that kind of thing. I mean, I assume that these are pretty good digs you're in, at the Birch Tennis Complex. But does that dynamic change anything at all?
I would say the only thing, it's inconvenient. The facility here is beautiful. It's well maintained. The city does a great job here. We have a lot of help getting things set up over here as well. So that part of it is fine. It's just the planning that goes into it. But, I'm a mom, so planning is kind of second nature. The hardest thing is just, driving back and forth. Most of my kids are international as well, so they don't have driver's licenses or cars, and I think the world is probably safe with that. But, but it's just getting them back and forth from the courts, which is the biggest inconvenience. But once we've got that plan set and everyone gets into that routine, just kind of becomes second nature. You pick them up from class, or you pick them up from ward or the weight room or athletic training room, through dorms, anywhere like that. And then, it's all about that, just routine and getting that schedule figured out, which is a pain in the beginning, but it's fine after that.
So we work here for IBX Media. It is owned in part by Hank Hinton, who is the husband of Meredith Hinton, who really drives that boat. Let's be honest. So Meredith, with a extremely generous donation to go towards, I guess, towards the tennis office on campus. So take us a little bit through that. What exactly did Meredith's gift mean?
Sure. Meredith and I had the same coach. We were never on the same team, but we had the same coach, and we've been talking for years about a way to just honor his legacy and just honor him and show him how much he has meant to us as players and as the program. And so Meredith decided that she would name our women's tennis locker room in Minji's after him. And it was a pretty emotional evening, I think, for everybody. And I think particularly for Tom, because I don't think as a coach sometimes you understand just how much of an impact you have on players. And I think that night kind of solidified what he has been trying to do here at East Carolina and what he tried to do over his 20-year career. And that was just create a culture of players who wanted to be here and who loved being Pirates and loved Greenville. And I think he instilled that in Meredith. She's from Spartanburg, South Carolina, and, I'm from South Africa. We've had a few tennis players stay here in Greenville. And so I think just being able to thank him for giving us the opportunities that he has given us, it meant the absolute world to me, and I know that Meredith is super excited to do it, and I don't know what we do without someone like Meredith, honestly. She fuels this program financially, but also just the example that she sets every day. It's like that is truly unmatched, and if I grow up to be like her one day, I think I'll have done good.
Kirstin Burgess with us, ECU tennis coach. Hey, let me ask you, you just kind of outlined it there. You have to be uber organized to be able to operate in the off-campus space. And then there's just the modern times that we're in with, those daggone youngins today. We can call them that, at least I can. And, they got so much coming at them, but it's also a different time for athletes, even in these Olympic sports like tennis. I mean, it's just a different sort of world than you and I, when we came through East Carolina, were a part of. So I lay all this out to say, while I know it's challenging, it's still rewarding to be a coach of a sport like tennis at the collegiate level.
I think it definitely still is. I said to my assistant at the beginning of the year, we kind of have to get to the point where do we want to recruit great kids and make them better tennis players, or do we want to recruit better tennis players and make them great kids? And I think we still have the opportunity to do that in a sport like tennis. I mean, NIL is it's there in part, but it's not huge. It hasn't really taken over our sport like a lot of other sports. And, most of these kids are professionals from a young age in tennis anyway, so that's not anything new to us. They already handle themselves like professionals. They've been on their own. They've traveled the world. I mean, they've already done all these things. They look after themselves. So not too much of an adjustment there in the way things have changed. And like I said, the NIL hasn't quite hit our mid-major programs as much as the bigger programs yet. But, yeah, it's still totally rewarding because I have chosen to recruit good people and then turn them into tennis players because you still want to be able to develop. You still want to do those things, and
you still want to teach the game.
What we enjoy. Yeah. Still want to teach the game, level, exactly.
Yeah, at some level, you still want to teach the game. I totally understand that. Philip, who I blame everything on, is he'll back me up on this. Pilk, it's great. Like one of the things I like about Blake Harrell is you'll see him at other sporting events at ECU. He goes to other games. Not since Kurt Kraft do we have, I think, a bigger, just ECU sports fan as a coach than Coach Burgess. You seem like you like to go to ECU, especially football. I mean, you actually seem like a fan of ECU sports. I think this is amazing.
I'm probably the biggest fan of ECU sports, to tell you the truth.
Because in all honesty, and Pilk, back me up on this.
Yep.
Kraft would just go to talk. I don't think he would watch the games.
Yes.
I think Coach Kraft would go somewhere to talk to somebody. That's what I think.
A little bit. He was watching. Come on. He's not even here to defend himself. If he's here on the show, we'll bust his, chops and definitely say that.
He's moved back. They bought a house in Aden. We need to get him back on the show just to have him on for old time's sake. All right, I'm sorry, Coach. Yes, but you are a fan, a true fan.
I truly am, yes. I particularly enjoy going to the basketball games, men's team and the women's team. Football's fun. I mean, that's just fun just because you get to hang out with everybody. You get to see friends and family that you haven't seen. You get to see teammates from 20 years ago. That part of football is always fun just because it's more of a camaraderie than anything else. But, there really isn't a sport that I haven't gone to, that I haven't tried to watch. Obviously our schedule makes it a little bit difficult, and then my daughter's in middle school, so that's made this year a little more difficult as well because she's just really started playing some sports as well. But, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I will be on my feet screaming louder than anybody else in the gym in our close moments, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack in the game last night, and I probably did have a heart attack, and I'm sure everybody in the stands had a heart attack last night, and multiple. I think if you coach college athletics, you have to love the team that you are coaching because that's what you're selling, right? I mean, you're not just selling yourself; you're selling your school. And I'm a terrible liar, so I can't go out there and sell something that I absolutely love.
Right.
If I'm not obsessed with it, then I can't sell it. And so I'd much rather be absolutely passionate. And then being an alumni as well. I mean, I went to all the games when I was a student too. So and I've raised my daughter to be a Pirate, and she'll probably break my heart and go be a wolf pack or something like that. But
no,
don't let that happen. It's become part of the family. Yeah, no, it's just become part of the family. And my husband's an ECU graduate as well, so it really is just going to ECU games is part of our family traditions. Things that we do on a Wednesday night.
It's part of the culture. I got it. And by the way, it was as exhilarating as that game was to watch. I was marveled calling it just because it just was some great plays and some great individual efforts.
Yes.
By the way, Pilk.
Yes.
Coach Burgess and I are what the young people call Facebook friends. And
the young people I've learned don't even have Facebook. I've heard the people younger than me, they don't even know what the hell that is. And then we bring up MySpace and they're really mind blown. Well,
I had a MySpace page, and it was the shame it went out of fashion because I really had it rocking by the time it got to that point. But anyway, this is a Coach Burgess post, Pilk. Bowl game, hotel booked, #Go Pirates. That is a fan right there, Pilk. That is a true fan right there.
That is.
That's not somebody just selling you, a ball of wax. I mean, that's a real situation right there. Absolutely.
I mean, you want to make sure as many fans you can get to go to the games as possible, right?
Yeah. Now, how many children do you have?
Just the one.
Okay, just the one.
13-year-old.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And she's playing sports tennis?
No. She runs cross country, she plays basketball, and she plays softball. So she's a team sports kid. And as an individual sports coach, I identified that very early.
I understand. Well, that's it. It's all about the strengths and weaknesses. So, all right, ECU tennis. It's great to have you on. This has been a delight to have you, Coach. And then tomorrow at the River Birch Tennis Complex in Greenville against Norfolk State after coming off the 4-3 win over VCU. We'll talk to you soon, I hope. Thanks for being with us.
No, thank you for having me.
Thanks to Kirstin Burgess for being with us. Great to have her on. Also, thanks to Jerry Palm, palmbrackets.com. Palmbrackets.com. Jerry Palm with Bracketology. Great website, and Jerry knows his stuff. All right, we'll be away baseball tomorrow. I'll see you in the morning for Talk of the Town, a little open line Friday. And then I'll see you coming up this weekend, depending on Mother Nature, on ESPN Plus for Pirate softball against JMU with our great friend Courtney Layton joining me. All right, we'll see you Monday for sure at Tiebreakers for Inside Pirate Athletics of the Patrick Johnson Show. Talk to you then.